Welcome to a special Branching Out, Growing Together offshoot episode. These episodes take us beyond our usual format, whether it's a personal reflection, a unique story, or a deep dive with a guest outside our scheduled interviews. And now, here's your host, Melanie Jones.
Hey, thanks for tuning back in to Branching Out. A couple weeks ago, I put together a podcast where I was sharing information for a presentation at the Kentucky Nut Growers Association. And I thought that I could do a better job, so I've re-recorded it. And I'm going to discuss really quickly the chestnut industry as it is in America, some information about our chestnut tree farm, EBB Farms, and then a work in progress with the United Chestnuts brand. So the first thing is, there is a chestnut revival happening in the United States, and it's super exciting. I ask many people when I travel, have you had a chestnut recently? And of course, the answer is usually no. But if the answer is yes, my question is, do you know if the chestnut was grown in the United States? That is so important. And right now, there's just not an awareness of the chestnut as a whole and where is it coming from. Next is that, did you know that the United States is the only country capable of growing chestnuts at a commercial scale, but lacks a developed industry? It's sad in one hand, but it's exciting on the other, and that's kind of what we're going to explore today. To give you a sense of scale, in the United States, we eat an average of about 1/10 of a pound per capita. And then if you compare that to Europe, for example, they consume about 1 pound. And if you look at South Korea, it's about 4 pounds. So the chestnut community is starting to grow, and we're making a change both on the supply and on the demand side. Market trends, let's take a quick look at that. The chestnut industry is a $5.4 billion industry growing at about 2% each year. Some of the reasons for that is that there's absolutely a rising consumer interest in gluten-free and plant-based products that are just more healthful. There's fast-paced growth, interest, and awareness of the chestnut, especially in the United States, for the reasons I just talked about, trying to let people know, wow, here's a product from our past that we just don't know about. Also, you think about our world, our soil. Chestnut trees and other trees are perennials, and it provides a regenerative approach to farming, which is ideal for another trend, which is agroforestry practices. As the interest in the United States is ramping up, we're having to rely heavily on imports from China, Italy, and Turkey to support our growing demand. I'm going to put in parentheses, that's just for now. Some of the things that are helping us to grow and to facilitate growth are advancements in technology for processing equipment and storage. This is just a quick snapshot, just to give a sense, and you can see in the pictures if you're looking in this on YouTube, of the different cultures that have tapped into chestnuts for centuries. I like to ask why on a lot of things. My question is, why is the consumption so low in the United States? Well, there are some logical reasons. First of all, the American chestnut population was absolutely devastated in the early 1900s from a blight that originated from some Asian chestnut trees that were introduced into the eastern United States. If you heard the stories that chestnuts were up and down the eastern seaboard in the spring, it was just complete white where squirrels could travel from down south to up north on the chestnut trees themselves. That's just how plentiful they were. So in 1904, I guess at the Bronx Zoo, the blight was identified, and it spread rapidly because there was no natural resistance. If you're looking at this online, you can see one of the pictures of these absolutely gorgeous trees that were so big. And within a few decades, almost 4 billion trees were dead. It was one of the most significant ecological disasters in American history that we don't know about. Why don't Americans know about the chestnut tree? Well, I think I just explained it, but if we dive a little deeper, growers who were interested in repopulating these trees did not have a blight-free tree to work with. That's a problem. But in the mid 1900s, some breeding programs came along and combined the hardiness of the Asian varieties with the productivity of the American chestnut. But it just didn't gain traction. Took a while. And at the same time, in the early 1900s, there was significant advancements in mechanization for harvesting. And since the chestnut was not, very productive, this technology wasn't applied to the chestnut. And it left this really big gap in technology, in harvesting equipment, and everything. So why don't we know about it? We just don't know. And what an exciting adventure we're on to share this product with America. If we look at the why behind the exploding interest, if you know much about the chestnut industry, you know it is on fire. It's almost, I'm going to say in quotes, a ground floor opportunity in a lot of ways. So the first one is land ownership. I think we've always had a segment of the population that were interested in owning their own piece of land for privacy and a sanctuary and investment for sure in a variety of opportunities. So we have that. Second, as it relates to chestnut farming, there's an income potential. We can see mature farms producing between $2,000 and $10,000 per acre annually, and think of that in comparison to soybeans or something like that takes so much to get into. You can have 10 acres and make some really nice revenue in the long term. At EBB Farms, our farm, we sell a lot of trees, and one of the population groups are families that have owned land and are looking for a new and higher use potential for the land, and putting in chestnut trees is ideal. And then farming trends in general, comparing a chestnut tree to a row crop, you're going to experience higher profitability. It's a lot more sustainable, really good for the soil, easier to take care of the soil, maybe I should put it that way, and a longer term economic stability. It's a crop that produces year after year once it is established. Good for the environment. Probably I should have listed the first bullet as the nutritional benefits. Gluten-free, nutrient dense. It's a local crop, which is sort of fun. Very, very versatile. We simply have to educate consumers, chefs, food processing facilities how to take the chestnut and turn it into a food product that becomes much more normalized for us. Another group of people that love chestnuts and chestnut trees are hunters and landowners and nature lovers who aren't interested in farming, but are interested in having these wonderful trees to enjoy and feed animals. And then lastly, one that applies to me, I know, and my husband, is this idea of leaving a legacy, the joy of creating a piece of property to leave to our loved ones. And the photo here is Bob Staley by his Tree of the North, which produces 300 pounds of chestnuts each year up in Ohio. It's beautiful, exciting. There's all kinds of information out there about the revenue potential, and I didn't really want to dive into that here. But if we think about the growth opportunities, if we were simply to match Europe's consumption, that 1 pound per capita in America, we would need 200,000 acres of chestnuts in production in the United States. And as of 2022, the last real study I saw, we have 4,500 acres in production. Think of the opportunity to expand this on a case-by-case level where you could have 10, 20, 50, 100 acres and really make a dent in bringing the chestnut to the forefront in the United States. This is a beautiful picture here of some chestnut trees at Route 9. If you know Greg Miller or his daughter Amy, they do such a good job. So the Kentucky nut growers asked me to share a little bit of information about the chestnut industry, which I just did. Secondly, to talk about our farm. And I think this is good because our story is really quite typical. We moved from Atlanta, the big city, to a more rural community in Kentucky. My husband, Brad, retired from Delta Airlines. We bought 200 acres. And over time, we built a home and have planted 2,500 chestnut seedling trees. And we're now adding about 1,000 each year. We grow these in our nursery and sell them to customers and then also put them on our place. Our earliest trees were planted in 2017 and they're producing nicely, anywhere from a few pounds to up to 25 to 30 pounds per tree. And now Brad and his hard work have evolved EBB Farms into a regional tree nursery where we raise and sell these high quality blight resistant hybrid trees. They're not American chestnuts, as people call and ask, but it's the hybrid trees. And I just love this quote from Brad where he said, "I enjoyed my career at Delta Airlines, but nothing compared to the joy of our chestnut journey. Each day brings new challenges that require learning, innovation, hard work, persistence, art, and science. And every detail matters." And this quote is, I hear it so often on the podcast that we have from others that are, maybe it's a second career, but how the challenge and the joy of chestnut farming is so enriching to their lives. We sell a variety of trees. Our number one seller is the UMCA PQK chestnut, which comes from the University of Missouri. And I think not only in Missouri's case, but in other environments, the increased genetics to the chestnut seedlings through these breeding programs is very, very encouraging. Even West Coast Chestnut is working on tissue cultures or replicating chestnut seedlings. But as far as our farm, I just included a list of some of the trees that we have and sell. Not only do we have chestnut seedlings, I wanted to mention we also sell other fast-growing and speedy nut production trees, and a lot of these are for landowners. But you can see Brad in our couple of our nurseries with our chestnut trees. What's next for us? Well, we're working on the foundation of a processing center, possibly a regional processing center for the chestnuts. And so keep an eye out from our story. And I know there's quite a few of them being built in the U.S., and that really is exciting and so needed. Well, you may have noticed that I'm not in any of those pictures, and there's a reason for that. I'm not a farmer. I'm not actually doing the farming work. I still have my full-time career in sales, but I've been here through the process and watched it and said, well, how are we going to sell this, each year more and more and more chestnuts? And then I thought, well, as we've developed a few things, how can I help the industry grow? And my idea was to develop tools that anyone can leverage and do that by creating a community. So we've developed a brand, the United Chestnuts brand, to raise awareness of the chestnut through a community. And we started out with our farm, EBB Farms, and then we kind of integrated into United Chestnuts. We're sort of breaking that back out so that United Chestnuts can be something that belongs to a lot of people to help. So let me show you a little bit more. So in a national sales role, I know that to sell a product, you need to create awareness, and you need to, in the case of the chestnut, increase the demand of the product, right? So these are some pictures just of a few of our customers getting their box of chestnuts, excited to try new things. The second thing is to increase supply to meet the new demand. So there are all kinds of people getting into the chestnut business, and I put a couple pictures here, and there's other larger companies looking at massive acreage of chestnut trees, but it's going to take all of us if we're going to go from 4,500 acres to 200,000 plus. So one of the ways to create this community, I thought, was to start the YouTube channel for United Chestnuts. It's there. It's still really new, but we feature the podcast that we have, Field Notes from the Farm, where we're trying to get out to farms and capture a little bit of video to educate and share and things like that. Second is the podcast that I mentioned. We're having all kinds of interesting guests to come on and talk about their experiences, share knowledge, not just chestnut farmers, but things that relate to it. And it's available out and about so that people that are looking for chestnut information can find us. We also developed the United Chestnuts community group on Facebook, a place designed for all of us to share our stories, whether that's a grower or a chef or a health advocate, passionate landowner, whatever. Share the stories and adventures there. And we have the United Chestnuts blog. I don't think I can play this YouTube clip here, but you might cut and paste it and try it. It's the song from the pistachio back if you were old enough to remember that was a Super Bowl commercial. But I think we're communicating messages through our blog where we want to see the chestnut evolve to become the new pistachio. And so stay tuned for that. You can subscribe for free. We also are providing farm tours. You pick information, farmcation. So this isn't just for EBB Farms. This is for anyone that's kind of in our community and network where we maybe in theory we say, hey, you live in Arkansas, maybe you should go visit this farm. Or you're in Western Kentucky, EBB Farms is a perfect place. Trying to connect users and consumers with growers. That's the long-term goal, and we're just getting started. So at the end of the day, this is what's happening. It's a work in progress right now. We're establishing a growth accelerator for the chestnut community. I've partnered up with Kim Douglas, an ultra-talented marketing expert, and we will continue to build out the YouTube channel, the podcast, our Facebook page, the blog, and probably the most important thing is getting the chestnut into the digital landscape with SEO and SEM and rankings and organic search, all of that. We've come up with our own little Chester chestnut spokesnut. He's not the pistachio guy, but he's our own little guy. And so all of this is being built into a subscription-based branding and e-commerce platform for chestnut growers. What I've observed, working hand in hand with Brad with EBB Farms, is that many farmers do not want or do not know how to tap into the digital landscape to sell their products. This is going to be absolutely key if we are going to have farms develop and have a product and sell them. And so eventually this will be available as subscription-based for chestnut growers that need some help, would have their own microsite, their own brand, and so forth. I'm really excited about it, and stay tuned for updates. So thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us for this offshoot episode of Branching Out, Growing Together. If you enjoyed this, be sure to check out our regular episodes where we continue to explore growth, connection, and the chestnut industry. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more. Until next time, keep growing.